And good morning, everybody, and welcome to this Wednesday edition of Chat CANNA as we changed our schedule around just a little bit. And on Wednesdays, we do a shortened version, and it's just me, myself, and a guest, or sometimes one of the other hosts on the show. And today, we're going to have a little fun again out in the western part of North Dakota. Veronica is off doing her things today, and AJ is out there in Wyoming. And of course, he works 25 hours in every 24-hour day. I don't know how the guy does it. So, but kind of exciting today, we are bringing on a new hemp farmer from out in North Dakota. I was watching him walk through his fields this morning, and we are going to hear from him and hear about his two varieties of hemp he's growing. Let's make a big Chat CANNA welcome. Have you heard about Lance Meyer? It's interesting, his last name, M-E-I-E-R, the same as mine is Wright. Meyer, his last name is Meyer. Do you know, by the way, what it means, what the name carries, Lance?
I don't. The only time I saw it was in Germany.
Right. Well, Meyer means man of. So if your last name was Baker Meyer, you'd be the man of the bakery.
Okay.
If so whatever it is in front of it, well, yours just carried forward the name Meyer. But traditionally over the generations, if you were the Forest Meyer, you'd be the man of the forest. So Meyer, in any variation, and as we hear it here Americanized, it means man of something. So that's your descriptive. And so today you are the man of the hemp. So here we go. So welcome to the show, and this is exciting. And of course, what's it feel like to be in a brand new industry?
It's exciting. It's a little unnerving at times. Just the fact that it's on untreaded water right now. So the conventional farming. So a little brief on me. Backstory is I worked in Fargo, moved back to the family farm in 2017, and started picking up land, renting land with my dad. Just kind of, he's getting to the point where he's mid 60s, so that transition. It's like, well, if we're going to do something, instead of renting the land, and just having that pass off, it's like, well, let me take a fair, honest shot at it and see if it's something that I want to do. And so that's when I moved back. And moving back, it's been interesting because there are things that I look at differently now that I've come back, or I question. It's like, well, could we do this instead? And being able to bring that conversation up without seeming offensive. My dad's got, he's 3 decades, 30 years of farming. So to come back as a new producer, kind of under his wing, so to speak, and say, hey, we need to do it this way. Well, he's done it for 30 years, so he deserves the respect to, have that conversation. So I think it's been good to be back. I tried to do it for a while from Fargo, and my advice, or my father's advice was, you got to farm to the weather, not the calendar. And that was very true. So with coming back, I started off with sunflower my first year, and then I've been doing a wheat and soybean rotation ever since. And this year, well, it's been last year. I started looking. I went up to the NDSU field day in Langdon, and my wife Laura Lee and I we were interested in it. So we said, what is this hemp, and what can it do? We started looking at different different options. Well, there's hemp fiber, hemp seed oil, CBD hemp, and now there's CBG hemp. And it was kind of interesting. And, looking at the different options for hemp, it kind of opened my eyes to different opportunities that, just like, canola, we brought in canola. It took us a while to get, things settled. Soybeans, it took a while to understand, how soybeans are grown. We've, honed that market. So I think this is the next phase, hemp. There's a lot of differences in CBD hemp to conventional crop farming. It's horticulture versus agriculture. So it's kind of different. I look at, my dad, he also raised cattle too. And it was interesting, the time spent with cattle. I'm like, man, there's a lot of time. And now it's with the CBD hemp, it's kind of the same thing, as you're more in tune with the plant. and my wife does a lot of gardening, and so she's taken to this as well. So it's just been interesting. And we were going to start off with 5 acres last year of CBD hemp. I'm glad I didn't, because this CBD hemp is very labor intensive. I mean, we have 6 rows at 43 plants per row, about 10 feet spacing. And that I would say I would keep the 10-foot spacing, because I was able to get through with a small compact utility tractor for planting, putting my mulch line or my mulch layers down, and drip irrigations. So location is key. I looked at a couple different locations, did soil sampling beforehand on a couple different locations. One of the things that I came across was the hemp itself, or the location. You got to make sure that it's if it's your land, that's fine. But if it's somebody else's, you got to watch rental agreements as well, because that they have to sign the paperwork for that too. So the paperwork's been interesting. Overall, I just think it's been a real eye-opening experience. We started off with 250 plants. This year they've done really well, and I'm just excited to see where it's going. And every day, you can't get too bent out of shape about not knowing, because it's an adventure. And I have to go back and remind myself that this is an experiment this year. This is why we did 200.
So you planted two different varieties. Tell us about those.
So I got I did hemp clones for their consistency. Then the seed is supposed to produce more CBD, but I did 2 varieties: a cat's meow and a cherry. And I got those from Troy Goltz out of Plantology. And so far, they've been really good, very consistent. I haven't seen too much variability. So yeah, they've been good.
Did you hit them with a lot of water at the beginning?
So that was an interesting story. So we had the conception that it was supposed to be about a half a gallon to a gallon. Well, we overwatered it in the beginning. We learned real fast they do not like to be overwatered, and we have a couple rows. My first row coming off the irrigation line suffered because of it, and I think that you can tell the plants took a lot of strain. They did recover, but definitely something that I wouldn't do again. I mean, they don't need a lot of water when they first start out. You put them in the ground, transplant them, and I would say about every week, give them a shot of water. And what we did is, it's like, well, how much water am I getting to these plants? So what we did at the end of our drip irrigation lines, we put a little bowl so just to sample, to say, well, when my half or my cup or 2 cups are full, then I know I've given them that much. And that's also, it double checks to make sure that there's not something wrong with my drip irrigation lines. If that's not filling up on the end of my line, something is wrong. So it's a quick and easy way to check. Irrigation, or as far as fertilizer, I didn't put any fertilizer down. This ground that we grew it on, it had some alfalfa. It was right beside a feedlot. I did soil samples beforehand, met with an agronomist out of Minneapolis. I had 53 pounds of nitrogen per acre, and the recommendation was between 60 and 80. So we opted to not put any fertilizer down, but instead put down basically a root chelator that would allow the plant to uptake that nutrient. Because I know that I can put down nutrients, but if the nutrient is not available, it really doesn't make a difference. You're just adding more to your ground. So it was interesting working with my agronomist too. The conventional side of farming in me wanted to, okay, we got to apply fertilizer. Okay, we got to do this. And just to be able to pull back and say, stop it, just let the plant be. And that was the thing, is to let the plant grow, watch the plant, and make adjustments as necessary.
Wow. So it sounds like for your first year, in the pictures I saw this morning, they're all about chest high now, or maybe not quite chest high. They're really uniform out there.
Yeah, they are. And that's the big difference between your hemp, or when you started from seed versus clones. Clones have a tendency, about 3 weeks in, we had a lot of wind when they first started. So they didn't have a root base. All they had was that ball. of roots, and the wind took them for a ride, and some of them were just laying over. And I said, well, geez, Troy, do I have to prop these up and get them straight? He's like, nah. He said they'll figure themselves out, and they did. Some of them. I mean, I got stems that are 4 inches thick, and
Isn't
they
that
just
something?
come out and
Yeah.
go up, and they self-correct. And the other thing too is, I like, I'm a perfectionist, and my wife always gives me a hard time, and she's like, oh, of course they're uniform, you just love it. But some of the things, it's like you always want to do right by the plant. So sometimes I feel like my agronomist, finally he's like, Lance, just let them go, let them be, because I want to do right by the plant. I want to do a good job. It's our first year. And there's a lot of things that can get you. You have 1 or 2 males out there, your crop is
yeah. Have you found any? Have you found any out there yet, or are you just finding out now?
Nope. I usually, what I'll do is I'll turn the water on. I'll water probably every 2 or 3 days. When it's been hot here, I'll probably water every other day. So I'll hit them with about an hour and a half of water. So I like to keep it light and spread it out, so their feet don't get too wet, but they get enough moisture. It allows time to soak in. But I have not seen any males. I check them as I water. It's like, well, hour and a half gives me time to walk around and check things out. And you see things that you normally wouldn't see, just by taking the time, slow down, and just watch. So yeah, I haven't seen any males. But another thing too, the pitfalls. It's like, well, you don't want to test hot on your THC either. So now that I have one variety, our cat's meow, that is budding, well, now I got to start looking into where am I sending this off to for testing, to make sure that I'm in compliance, because I don't want to get a test back from the state that says I'm tested, I'm hot, and now I got to destroy my crop. So I want to stay ahead of that. Now, this all comes with a cost. Let's talk insurance too. So, when I submitted my reporting acres for my conventional crops, they said, oh, by the way, insurance man, what do you got for hemp insurance? And that doesn't exist yet, because I have to have an established yield. Well, this is my first year. So these are all things. I mean, you talk about a pioneer crop. Granted, we've grown it here before, but it's like pioneers all over again, because we have nobody to talk to that grew it before. Now, we have people in Canada, which Langdon, NDSU field site in Langdon, they've heavily relied on for, our partners in Canada to help us out, because they've been doing it for 20 plus years.
Yeah.
So it's been interesting.
Wow, it sounds like you really got a handle on it. It keeps you busy, at least you can say that. And of course, with your spouse helping you there, and it sounds like she's out in the field every day too. So
yep.
You're just with it. So that's what it takes. That's what it takes.
Yeah.
Every day, and living with them. And did you find that they plateaued once in a while? You'd be there and they just stop dead for a few days, and you're going, oh my God, nothing's happening. And then all of a sudden you come out one morning and there's this big change. That was what we found, is that all of a sudden they just exploded for a few days.
Yeah. And it's been interesting. Like there's nothing. And then, yeah, they will take off. Or just noticing like my row is how they're starting to, I can't even get a golf cart. I use a golf cart once in a while. And it's amazing. You wouldn't think, the little things, but it's like, I used to walk it back and forth, and granted, I only have a 1/4 acre, but that golf cart's kind of nice to but I can't even get that through there anymore. I did them 10 feet apart. So I thought that was a little extreme, 10 feet, but I would do it again that wide. It's nice to be able to get through there. So.
Wow. Well, we look forward to following along with your hemp progress this year. We'll check back with you here as we get to the end of the harvest season, or when you start harvesting, and see how things are going. Lance, we wish you nothing but the best, and thank you for being on Chat CANNA's Have You Heard edition here today. Will you stay in the green room here? I'm going to put you down in the green room, finish up the show, and we'll make some future plans here. So great to have you on the show today. Thanks so much.
Thank you, John.
Alrighty. And there we go. That is Chat CANNA's Have You Heard, the Wednesday edition. We hope that you will stick around and be with us tomorrow. Should be an exciting guest. I won't be here. Veronica and Casey are going to take over and have a show for you then. In the meantime, everybody have a great Wednesday. We'll look forward to seeing you here, right back here on YouTube, Facebook. Please mark us as your friends. Subscribe to us on YouTube, and we'll see you all very soon.